Welcome back to Jim's EV Adventures. Today we're taking a deep dive into one of the biggest obstacles facing the electric vehicle revolution. Not battery technology, not charging infrastructure, but media influence. For years, traditional media outlets have played a significant role in shaping public perceptions of EVs, often focusing on negative narratives rather than highlighting the progress and benefits. But here's the truth. We the people are the new media. Thanks to platforms like YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and similar social media platforms, and many thanks to independent journalists who stand in the gap, we no longer have to rely on outdated and often biased takes from mainstream networks. We, you and I, can drive the conversation ourselves. So let's break this down. How has traditional media influenced the anti-EV movement? And how can we, as everyday consumers and content creators, push back against the misinformation? Let's get into it. In this segment, we're going to take a look at the media's role in the anti-EV narrative. For decades, traditional media has shaped the public perception of automobiles, often reinforcing the status quo. When EVs started gaining traction, instead of embracing the shift, many media outlets and social media influencers turned to fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD. Some of the common tactics used by these troglodytes against EVs include 1. Cherry-picked negative stories. Have you ever noticed how one single EV fire gets nationwide coverage, but gas car fires, which happen thousands of times more frequently, barely make the news? This selective reporting skews public perception. And on the screen are just a few examples of how tanker trucks have literally destroyed highways, and nobody even blinks an eye. And let's don't forget about the oil platform that blew up in the Gulf of Mexico a few years back, dumped oil all across the beautiful Gulf Coast, and nobody even remembers the name of it. I'll put it on the screen. Number 2, they exaggerate range anxiety. Even though modern EVs can travel hundreds of miles on a single charge, media outlets and brain-dead social media influencers still push the idea that EVs will leave you stranded in the middle of nowhere. Number 3, they ignore EV advancements. There have been many breakthroughs in battery tech. There's increased infrastructure, and the total cost of ownership savings, rarely do those make headlines. Instead, the focus remains on outdated criticisms like those advanced by Mark P. Mills, who not only bloviates on every social media platform known to man, he has used his substantial investments from the carbon-based fuel cartels to fund and create an anti-EV organization called the National Center for Energy Analytics, which does not analyze energy at all. It simply pushes the drill, baby drill, ultra right-wing stupidity that permeates society right now. And number 4, let's not forget about the carbon-based fuel cartel's influence. They fund major networks and publications, and those publications rely heavily on advertising from the carbon-based fuel cartels and the legacy automakers who are still having a difficult time making the transition to electric. These media companies have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. By continually amplifying these narratives, the media has contributed to the anti-EV movement by fueling misinformation, skepticism, and helping the resistance to change. Again, during this segment, I have run several captures of stories about tanker trucks and the Gulf Water Horizon and several other things. But the media don't seem to cherry-pick those stories, and there have been more tanker truck explosions and more oil dumped into our oceans over the past years than there have been EV fires or any danger created by those fires. These disasters, these large-scale disasters, are much more damaging than an EV fire will ever hope to be. And on social media, friends, family, and acquaintances spread misinformation like a 3-year-old spreads peanut butter on toast. They smatter it out without consideration or thought. As an example, look at this YouTube video that I did last week, and I'll provide the link below, popping it up on the screen for you to see. In this case, a friend of mine sent me an article trying to refute my claim that driving is a privilege, not a right. The article argued that Americans have a fundamental right to drive whatever vehicle they choose, free from government mandates. But here's the reality. The government mandates the types of vehicles we can drive through safety, emissions, and licensing regulations. Just like you can't legally drive a car that fails safe inspections or does not meet emission standards, the government can and does set policies that influence what kind of vehicles are allowed on the road and who can drive them. Moreover, driving is a privilege, and that is something the Supreme Court has upheld, not a right, as my friend intimated with his Sovereign Citizen article. And that link is in the description below as well. No matter how many fake news stories you link to or send me via Facebook Messenger, the undisputable fact is you must obtain a driver license, follow traffic laws, meet registration and insurance requirements, and many other things to legally operate a vehicle on the road. If driving were an absolute right, none of these rules would exist. But they do, because public safety and environmental responsibility take precedence over individual absolute rights and preferences when it comes to operating in the public. Stories like this illustrate how misinformation gets passed around, often by well-meaning people who simply haven't bothered to research the truth, look at the facts, or practice critical analysis when spreading the information they're being fed through the internet and other social media. In the second segment, we're going to look at how we the people are the new media. As I alluded to in the opening, there's good news. We don't need mainstream media to tell the EV story anymore. We have the power to shift the narrative with platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, X, blogs, and many more online forums. Everyday people, actual EV owners, are documenting their real-world experiences and debunking myths in real time. And this is where it's going to put off a few people, but that doesn't matter. Like him or not, Elon Musk is right about one thing, and one thing for sure. He has repeatedly stated that social media platforms are the new town square, places where open discourse and decentralized information sharing take precedence over traditional media gatekeepers. He argues that in today's digital landscape, every individual with an internet connection is part of the media. That ticks off the mainstream media, and I really don't care. On this issue, I agree with Elon 100%. For those of you who are Elon haters, I feel sorry for you because you are being duped by the very media I am debunking here today. Wake up and extract your head from that dark place you sit on, because you're being lied to by the media. Whether it's through a tweet, a video, a Facebook post, or a blog, anyone can contribute to the discussion and shape public perception. The shift has made it hard for legacy media outlets to control the narrative the way they once did, and I'm here to prove that. However, while social media provides access to immediate news, it's important to distinguish between news stories and journalistic articles. A viral post or a trending topic might capture attention, but that doesn't mean it has been properly vetted. True journalism follows these principles, the principles of who, what, when, where, why, and how, providing thorough context and investigative depth. The distinction matters because misinformation can spread just as quickly as the truth. The key is learning how to separate knee-jerk reactions from well-researched articles. Well-researched is the type of analysis you're going to get here on my channel, and that's always, and that's a promise. In the third segment, we're going to talk about how to fight back against misinformation. So what can we do to push back against the EV misinformation campaigns that are fully funded by the multi-billion-dollar carbon-based fuel cartels? How can we swim when we're drowning in a sea of FUD? Here's how we together can fight the FUD monkeys. One of the most important things we can do is demand journalistic integrity from the sources we consume. Real journalism isn't about pushing an agenda. It's about seeking the truth, asking the right questions, and presenting factual, unbiased, objective information. True journalism follows the who, what, when, where, why, and how model. I've already told you that. Providing full context and reliable sourcing. Unfortunately, much of today's media, legacy media and social media, is driven by sensationalism, clickbait, and the corporate interest of their sponsors rather than honest reporting. How can everyone develop critical thinking skills? Well, number one is to question the source. Who is writing the article or making the claim? Is it an independent journalist? Or is it a corporation-backed media outlet? Or is it an opinionated influencer with a paid agenda? I can tell you that I'm independent. I don't take money from anybody, and no corporation backs me. So question me all you want to. You can't question my integrity on that area. Number two is look for multiple sources. Don't just trust one news outlet. Don't just trust Jim. Go out and find somebody that is practicing journalism that's saying something different. Compare how different media sources are reporting the same story. If only one outlet is covering it, ask why. And I invite you to test any claim I make here, always, and back it up with your facts if you can find them. Number three, check for data and evidence. Are claims backed by actual data, research, or verifiable facts? If an article lacks citations or references, be skeptical. I will always state my references and provide my data when and where it's needed. And number four, be aware of emotional manipulation. If a story is designed to invoke anger, create fear, or outrage rather than inform, it's likely more propaganda than it is journalism. And there's a lot of that out there. And that describes 90% of the anti-EV influencers. I don't really have to name names, do I? Scotty, Simon, Tony, Lauren? Do I have to name names? And number five, follow the money. Who funds that media outlet? Who funds that YouTube channel? If it is a carbon-based fuel company, a legacy automaker, or an anti-EV interest that's paying for the ads, their reporting might be biased. Nobody pays me a dime for my positions. I cannot be bought, and I will not be influenced by anything other than factual information or by verifiable action proving intent. Simple as that. In conclusion, the days of relying on traditional media for the truth about EVs are over. We are the new media. Every time you share a video, correct a false claim, or simply drive your EV without issue, you're contributing to the shift in public perception. EVs are here to stay, and despite the media's attempt to slow progress, or the new administration's Neanderthal practices and policies regarding carbon-based fuel with their drill baby drill short-sighted mindset, the momentum is unstoppable. So let's keep the conversation going, keep sharing real-world experiences, and most importantly, keep driving electric. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe and drop a comment below. Have you seen misleading EV coverage in legacy or social media? Let's discuss that. Send me a link. I'll be more than happy to research and disprove any information you find. Remember, critical analysis is my jam. Until next time, I will see you out there or somewhere along the route from point A to point B. Take it easy, everybody.